Everyone's got their thing. Maybe it's a breakup, a death, an accident. Whatever it is, you used to be one thing. Now, you're something else. We all have our own problems, our own issues, our own demons.
We are Venom, so we finally got the teaser trailer, and I know he's not in the costume yet, but very clearly we're watching the suit sort of awaken, the symbiote awaken inside of him when he's inside that MRI machine. Like, he starts shaking around like, oh, this is very clearly after he gets the symbiote, but before it's completely activated. So you can kind of tell that they're doing a little more Agent Venom than they're doing the classic Eddie Brock, where he gets it from Spider-Man and the Bell Tower. So I think the most important thing here is in how they're explaining how the symbiote gets to planet Earth. And it seems like this wreckage, when he talks about accidents as he narrates in the trailer, this might be where they find the symbiotes. This accident looks like some sort of crashed military vessel, maybe it's something from outer space, but Planet of the Symbiotes is the story of a bunch of symbiotes crashing to planet Earth. So I'm just guessing that's how they get the multiple different versions of the symbiote, because you see a couple of canisters here, and you can see the symbiote in it. This is Riz Ahmed playing the Carlton Drake character of the Life Foundation. They're the organization that in the comics created those 5 different symbiotes that Venom then had to take down. But it sounds like what might end up happening, because you see multiple canisters in this truck, is that we are obviously looking at the Venom symbiote right here, but these other canisters might be the other versions of the symbiotes. Woody Harrelson is in the movie. He typically plays pretty crazy people. He might get a symbiote. Riz Ahmed's character might get a symbiote. There's just a number of people that could potentially become the Carnage of the Marvel Universe. It'll just be interesting to see how they weave all that together for the movie. Like, the movies typically change comic book backstory a little bit. Even the Marvel Cinematic Universe has changed a lot of stuff. Like the way that Tony Stark of the MCU created Vision and not Hank Pym. The 5 different versions in the comic were Scream, Phage, Riot, Lasher, and Agony. Like, you see, you have female versions of the symbiote. So I wouldn't be surprised if they whittled that down to maybe 1 or 2 different versions. There's only 2 canisters in this shot here. So if they really wanted to simplify it, they could have just done the Venom symbiote and the Carnage symbiote, and it's just those 2. Like, there's only 1 other version that he has to go take down. But if you're not familiar with the Life Foundation or any of those characters, in the comics, they're really just like an evil organization that wants to weaponize the Venom symbiote that eventually Spider-Man and Venom have to team up to take down. Spider-Man was a big part of that story. There's been rumors about Tom Holland being spotted on set, not necessarily in the Spider-Man costume, but Tom Holland on set. So it would make sense that they find a way to include him in some of that. But if you saw that last teaser that I posted for it, they said that they're doing the movie in San Francisco. That's where Lethal Protector takes place in the comics. But the circumstances for how he wound up there are a little bit different. So if the whole movie does take place in San Francisco, they do have to explain how Peter Parker has some sort of crossover. There'll have to be some sort of New York scene, because I don't think that he's traveled anywhere beyond New York City and Washington, D.C. because of Homecoming, in outer space because of the Infinity War trailer. But I know everybody's wondering, what is the symbiote going to look like in the film? They're using motion capture, so like the same way they do the Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man costumes, like you see him in the Endo Sim armor during that Infinity War trailer, it's going to be the same deal for the Venom symbiote. CG has gotten good enough that it's a lot easier for them to do stuff like that, so Tom Hardy can be crazy intense and they don't have to worry about him walking around with giant prosthetics on. But for everybody asking how this is going to tie in with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because if they do have Tom Holland, that does mean that they're somewhat connected.
I actually... Oh no, I can't say that. Whoops.
Like I've said before, think of it as James Bond level continuity, where the films are all connected because it's the same characters, but they don't necessarily address every single plot point in some of the later films, contradict some of the things in the earlier films. So very loosely connected, and I think largely depending on the success of this movie, you'll see them spin out more because they're just like a whole universe of Spider-Man characters that they'll never have time to get to in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like even if they do 10 Spider-Man films with Marvel Studios, there's still almost an X-Men level number of characters, which is like a whole other story because they just bought Fox. So there's just 1,000 different directions they could go, but a lot of that just depends on how things go because people didn't know if Deadpool was going to be successful, but now there's like a whole Deadpool universe that's way more popular than the traditional X-Men films. So because the actual Venom symbiote is such a big deal and so iconic, I think that they'll turn that reveal into a big thing in another month or two, like they'll tie it to some big event. But here's the big Infinity War theory. So like I said, Tom Holland rumored for the movie, it's the easiest thing in the world for them to use the chaos that's created during the next 2 Avengers films to explain how a bunch of symbiotes could crash to planet Earth. So I'm not expecting like a big 5-star post-credits treatment during Infinity War or anything like that. The stuff you see during the Infinity War post-credits will largely be dedicated to teasing the future traditional MCU films, like teasing Captain Marvel, because that's going to be one of the next big movies before Avengers 4, and of course teasing Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet completed during Avengers 4. But it is the easiest thing in the world for the Venom movie to have like a couple lines of dialogue or some sort of character explanation where they say that just shit went down and a bunch of things crashed to Earth. Those things wound up being the symbiotes. But for the most part, the trailer's pretty lightweight. You just get a shot of some of the main characters. This is his girlfriend from the comics. They haven't fully explained his backstory yet, so they're giving him an Agent Venom spin that I'm guessing that he's going to be an Iraq war vet or Afghanistan vet, but it sounds like he either gets tied up in this accident and that's how he gets the symbiote, or he volunteers for the Life Foundation experiments and that's how he gets the symbiote. Like one of those situations where they have a number of symbiotes and they want to test them out, so a bunch of people sign up, but most of the people wind up going crazy because the symbiotes drive them insane. But if you're not really familiar with the comics, the thing about the Venom symbiote in Eddie Brock that's different is that they form more of a singular consciousness, whereas Spider-Man kind of had to fight the consciousness of the symbiote. Like it was fighting for dominance in Spider-Man's mind, slowly taking him over. Because of his unusual psyche, Eddie Brock had a much more harmonious marriage with the symbiote. So that's why they say we are Venom, whereas if you were to run into Peter Parker while he was still wearing the symbiote, he would just say that he has a really badass costume that can turn into whatever he needs it to be. But now that we have Shuri in the Black Panther movie, you have Vibranium that can turn into anything you want it to be. Tony Stark looks like he has nanobots that form his endosim armor that can become anything that he needs it to be. So you have a lot of things that simulate the effects of the Venom symbiote without the actual consciousness aspect to it. Like that's the other big reveal that they need to do in the next trailer is what will the consciousness of the Venom symbiote sound like? Are they going to have another actor voice that as if it's like a voice inside his head, like you would hear Tony Stark's AI, just a really dark version of that? Or is it going to be Tom Hardy sounding like he's talking to himself, just totally going crazy? Which would be a pretty badass portrayal. If anybody can pull this off, Tom Hardy can. Like, he's a fantastic actor, so regardless of what the movie does, it'll at least be entertaining. Because Spider-Man is still, like, where the big ticket items are, I'm just expecting this to be a really fun story. Hopefully, they found a really cool way to integrate the character into the larger Marvel universe. In success, they can do something even bigger later on. But I know everybody just wants to see him in the symbiote and see what his voice sounds like. Like everybody has Bane flashbacks. What is it going to sound like when he has the symbiote on? But leave all your questions in the comments below. I'll try to get to them. There'll be more Marvel stuff. There's a Jessica Jones trailer that I'll do a video for soon too. And the Game of Thrones creators are doing a new Star Wars trilogy. So I'll do a video explaining what's going on with that because it's set during a different time period than the current films. But just be sure to subscribe to get everything. Make sure you click that bell to enable alerts so you don't miss any of the videos. There is a new Marvel giveaway going on. I'm going to do another Avengers video tomorrow. I'll name the winner when I post that. But click here to rewatch the Deadpool trailer and click here to rewatch the Infinity War trailer. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.